Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Up and In Show. Normally, I am on my purple couch with my guest, but we do have it in the frame. It is back here. So I am in the shop. I'm feeling at home. And I am joined today by a very special guest, the New Jersey native, one of my Northeast brothers. We were just catching up a little bit on the phone. But Mike Olson, thank you so much. I'm really excited to dive into your story today and how you affect the hobby and a little bit about you. So thank you for joining us, man.
Thank you. It's honestly a huge honor and super pleasure to talk to you today. Thank you so much.
Dude, it is my pleasure. It is my pleasure. One of the things about my shop, I know you can't really see it. You can probably see a few things in the background. I have a little art piece here, but our shop is all about art. And one of the things that fascinates me about collectibles is the storytelling behind it, right? And I think that's the beauty about art, right? And so to blend them together was always kind of my idea in business. And obviously you have done that as a career now, and probably again, what I'm excited to dive into probably started as a cool hobby is now shown up this way. So why don't you take a second to introduce yourself and just let our listeners know who you are, what you do, that kind of stuff.
My name is Mike. I'm an artist from New Jersey, and at the moment I'm really involved in just hand making baseball cards in so many different ways. But that's kind of where I've been focused lately, is just cranking out handmade baseball cards.
Love it. Yeah, well, it's really interesting, man. And if you think about it, like, that's such a small canvas. So again, I have so many questions and I'm excited to dive in. But first of all, you were born and raised in Jersey?
No, I'm actually from Connecticut. So I came from a weird sports town. I grew up as a Hartford Whalers fan.
Wow.
And the Whalers, they left Hartford, so that left me without a hockey team. But it was kind of a weird sports town because there was people that loved the Red Sox, there were people that loved the Yankees. You were kind of stuck in between a whole bunch of different sports folks. But my dad was a huge Red Sox fan growing up. And he raised me on the Beatles and the Boston Red Sox. So,
oh my God, I love it.
Like right from the beginning, he taught me well. But so baseball was always a big part of growing up. And it was weird because my dad was a Red Sox fan. My brother was a Red Sox fan. So naturally, I had to be the Yankee fan in the family.
I was going to ask how that's serving you, if you were a Red Sox fan or if you got onto the dark side or not.
I probably drove my dad crazy. He's like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. But I bet you that made for some good rivalries in the house growing up and everything. And yeah, it was fun.
Me and my brother were constantly playing baseball out in the yard. He was always the Red Sox. I was always the Yankees. So
I love that. I love that.
Fun.
Anybody else in your family artist? Was that something that was, because obviously sports were important early on, but was art important to you guys early on?
It's weird. My mom grew up in science. She was actually a molecular immunologist.
Oh my God, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, my dad grew up, he ended up being in the insurance industry. But both of them were very crafty. And even though they worked in kind of areas where you wouldn't find any art, my mom came home and she was always making stuff. She always made Halloween costumes. I always watched her making things. And my dad would just head to the wood shop after he got home from work, and I'd watch him make stuff. And I think that that kind of helped bring my art to where it is. But they definitely weren't artists. But I watched them kind of do art in their own way.
Yeah. And really it's a creative thing, right? Art takes so many ways, shapes, and forms, right? Yeah. And it's really an artistic process. And really the end piece is just kind of the variable that the creative process comes out in, right?
Yeah. So that's really interesting. But they weren't artists. They didn't do art per se, but I always had a pencil in my hand. My mom said that I was just drawing pretty much since she could remember. So it's, been 40 something years of practice.
That's what I was going to ask. So as a kid, right, I was always, and again, that's probably why I have a shop and I showcase everybody else's art and why I'm so fascinated by it. I was never really artistic, but I always knew how valuable the artist in our class was, right? When we would do group projects, I'm like, yo, I got the brains and I can know what I need to do to this, but you're the artist and can make this happen, right? So was that always your story? You were always kind of an artistic person or no?
Yeah, definitely. And what you're saying is actually what's kind of happening now. And it's really interesting is I'm meeting a lot of people that don't necessarily have that drawing skill, but they've got ideas and they're coming to me and they're like, can you make this card? Can you put this together? And I started just kind of recreating cards, just, here's a 52 mantle. And I just made that card, and people started reaching out asking if I could do kind of odd things. And I love being the hands that can kind of take people's ideas and, put it in that, 2.5 by 3.5 rectangle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm so fascinated by. And it's funny that you say that, because in my shop, I'm pointing to the Ruth Gowdy card, and
Yep.
I have it on a canvas here as an original painting by one of my favorite artists here in Baton Rouge. And that's really how this shop really got started. Was I was doing all the stuff in 2019, 2020, when the hobby was popping and stuff. And I was like, I want to create a brand within this space, and I want to create other avenues of collectibles within, this popular space. And I was like, what if we just did cool art around famous cards? And we did
Nice.
like a few canvas paintings, and the Michael Jordan, the 86 Jordan, we did that one. We did the 52 mantle, and then the Gowdy Ruth. And the mantle and the Jordan sold in a day as soon as I put them on the website. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So that's what
Yeah.
kind of being like, now we could make a business around this. So now talk to me a little bit about how you've been able to capitalize on that. Is this your full-time thing? Are you a full-time artist?
I'm very lucky that at the moment I am. My wife works incredibly hard, and she really wants to see me succeed at doing this. So I actually got laid off in 2013, 2014. And instead of freaking out, she just kind of was like, this is your chance to just do this
Oh
and
my
do
God.
it full time. And from then on out, I've been just kind of busting my butt trying to just draw as much as I can. And I didn't start out, I started out in 2014 doing some cards, and I put them up and they didn't really make much of a splash. So I moved on, started doing other art, and that became a little more popular. So I pushed the cards to the side and focused on that. And then the baseball popped back up. And so once it popped back up, I've just been full on just kind of doing that ever since.
Wow.
And it's been great.
Wow.
But yeah, she's been a huge, she's allowed me to really get to where I am now. And I can't thank her enough. But she also helps me do a lot of my work too. I think being an artist, having somebody that also understands what you're doing and can take that and turn it into other stuff has been just a huge benefit to me. And she sees what I'm doing and helps considerably.
Dude, I kind of want to just let you keep going, because I mean that really is beautifully put. And not only were her and I, we joked before we threw the cameras on that we were born in the same hospital, so I already have a soft spot in my heart. But I think, kudos to her, really, to push you to do what brings you happiness and brings joy, right? And we're seeing how that's manifesting 10 years later. So one of the really cool things that I heard there were, and something that my podcast is about, and why I do these things, is it sounds like something that was negative or traditionally negative, like getting laid off in a position, right? In a traditional job, was turned into something beautiful. And now 10 years later, we're sitting on a podcast talking about how you make magic and art. And it really started with somebody pushing you to chase your dream and what makes you happy. And you had that support system too. So,
Definitely.
oh my God. I mean, yeah.
I couldn't be luckier. And I always laugh because sports is kind of the cliche is that sports is like makes couples fight, and in our case, it's exactly the opposite. Sports brought a lot of what we do closer together. It really made things, better for us. So it's the complete opposite of what sports is, generally looked at as the thing that pushes couples apart.
Well, it's funny you say that, because at the root of it, right, sports are meant to unify us. Obviously, we think about the competition aspect and we see the enemy, right, or whatever, quote unquote. Yeah. But at the end of the day, like, we root on the reason that teams are so popular is because of their fans, right? And the community is like, we relate to each other on, we both like this one thing, so let's go together into war, you know what I'm saying, type thing. So it's funny how it does play a negative role, but it can be at its root a connector, and it sounds like it's a beautiful thing for your guys' relationship too.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just things that have happened, just never would have seen coming, but all kind of have helped build this thing up to where we are now, and it's really impressive because, like I said, I started doing this, and I was packaging these cards and kind of whatever way I thought was kind of working at the time. And it was a little bit sloppy, and, I was doing the best I could. And I didn't even know that she was sitting there watching me do this. And she's off in the other room and she's designing new packaging for me. And we get to this day where she's like, come check out what I made. And she came up with this brand new way of packaging my cards, and really made it so I can do what I'm doing now. Cause it took me like, hours to do the packaging I was doing. And the ones that she's now created, it makes it just so much faster that I can move on to the next project without spending, a ton of time, boxing these things up when I'm done.
Absolutely. I mean, those business logistics are usually that gap that artists have, right? Like where you can monetize some of your stuff. Yeah.
Exactly.
No, having that team member to be able to do that. And I went down a rabbit hole of your Instagram, really deep diving and one of the cool things that I saw were some of the reviews and the ways that, the packaging came, and there was like a reveal, piece that somebody did, and they were talking about how she took time, and it's a beautiful thing. And that's part of the presentation.
Yeah, I love it. It's handmade. So like everything I'm doing is handmade, but then the box I'm putting it in, she's making that from scratch. So the whole thing is just like, there's nothing about it that, one of us hasn't touched, which I think is super important. Cards are great, but a lot of them don't have, I feel like it gives it a soul that some other cards just don't have.
No, absolutely. And I was immediately thinking, so there's a service that I'm providing for some of my network with athletes this year. And you're noticing that a lot of athletes are starting to get into the hobby and things like that.
Yeah,
and basically, awesome. Yeah, it's amazing. It really is. Because again, at the end of this, right, it's to connect with the love of the sport and the athletes and that kind of stuff. And that's why we collect. So I was immediately thinking, I'm like, dude, I want to get some of your art cards for my athletes that I do some work for and add them into their vault. It would be so cool. Yeah. Because I mean, that's the point of the hobby, is the story behind it.
Definitely. Yeah. I went through your Instagram as well. And I saw a picture of you standing with Josh Jung. And I just finished a card where Texas Rangers memorabilia collector reached out, and he had one of those crazy ideas that I never would have thought of. But he knew that Josh was a big Captain America fan. He knew that Josh was really big into art and the hobby. And he came to me and was like, I got this idea. I want to do Josh as Captain America. But he's like, but I want his World Series patch on him. I want the World Series trophy on his shield. Had all these crazy specific requests that I just loved. And, it's something I would have never thought of. Yep. And I was just glad that he had the idea and that, he wanted me to actually execute it for him. Yeah. It was super fun project. And I think Josh saw it the other day and just like completely, blew my mind.
Yep. He's one of my clients actually with the service that I provide. And I saw that and I was like, oh my God, we got to do something. So I have some ideas that I'm going to reach out to you about that we could definitely collaborate on. But that brings me to my next point, in this hobby as a business owner. Talk to me about your process. Is it more commission based? Are you working with companies and producers? Are you working with athletes? Talk to me about your process.
Right now, I'd say it's probably 99% commission based.
Nice.
Because it's really the fans and the collectors that I think have the best ideas, to be honest. I think it's fun reproducing a card because there's the challenge of getting it exactly right. But there's something really fun about coming up with something that never existed before and kind of collaborating with somebody that you just met, and you're kind of going through the process together. And I honestly consider the, back and forth that we have and, the stuff that's not necessarily the drawing part, half of the fun of making these things. I meet some really interesting people. I hear some really interesting stories, and I get to, make something for somebody that they never thought they might have. So yep. It's been really cool to do the commission-based thing. And I'm always saying like, oh, when I finally get to the end of my commission list, I'm going to make a card or I'm going to do something for myself. And people just keep reaching out. So.
Yeah, that's the problem with doing good work is, your list is probably just going to keep getting deeper and deeper and your time's going to get smaller and smaller.
Yeah. So I've been trying to, I got myself a nice, Mary got me a really cool, book so I can keep my, stuff in order, and that's been helpful. But it's been a lot of people just reaching out for commissions, and it could be hockey, it could be baseball, it could be football. It's that part of the fun is not knowing what somebody's going to ask you to do.
Yeah. I got an idea that when I was looking through your stuff earlier, that I want to commission personally. So I think what would be really cool, like right before we wrap up the episode, is maybe if I were a customer and came to you with the idea, we do like almost like a mock call for people to like experience like a little bit of the process. Cause I want them to want to go through it with you. But like, cause that to me, again, is what I love about art is when I commission an artist, I want to give them my idea and a little bit of my vision, but the reason I'm coming to them is I trust their creative and their artistic ability to take my idea and make it beautiful and put their spin on it, right? So I think that would be really cool. But really quick before we get there, talk to me a little bit about your watercolor. Pretty much is what you use, right? So talk to me about a little bit of the technical process, because some of those spots of those cards and the material. So talk to me about how difficult that is.
It is. It requires a lot of focus. I got to really. It's super tiny window that you're working in.
Yeah.
Back when I did these in 2014, my eyesight was way better than it is now. But recently, the older I've gotten, the harder it is to see. So I pretty much live 8 hours a day within this little magnifying glass, and my face is pretty, just kind of glued to it. And
a lot of neck exercises and the stress on the neck.
So I live in this like really small world, but it just requires really a lot of focus, because it's like you said, it's really tiny. Some of the faces I'm drawing are literally like the size of a pencil eraser.
Yeah,
so
it's crazy.
I mean, you take 1 second where you look away or you breathe at the wrong time, or you ruin hours of work. So the most important part is really just being focused and just staying in that space. And
that's the most fascinating thing to me, is the attention to detail of art. And just hearing, I've been fortunate enough to have some really great artists on this show, and sat there and dove into their creative process. One time I had an artist just say, it's if there's something wrong with it, you just keep going and you just keep adding or whatever, or changing. And I'm just like, again, the flow and the process and the creative from an artist is the genius to me. So hearing that is so cool.
That's definitely great advice, because that's one of the things, like a lot of these cards, when you start, getting the player and the background to kind of be on the same level, like to get everything to work correctly, you do have to ignore the fact that you look at it at the beginning and you're like, this is not working.
Right.
And if you just plow through, by the time at least for me, by the time I get to the end, it usually looks the way I want it to.
And it's so fun.
Times when I was younger, I would stop and be like, this doesn't look right. And I would kind of put it to the side, and that was not the right thing to do.
Yeah. And that's what I've always heard. I'm like, so how do you know when it's done? Cause like I'll watch an artist, I've watched live artists paint and they'll put one little stroke or this or that. And I'm like, wait, why was that the finishing touch? And it's just like, they're like, yeah, you don't know. It's just like, it's just there. And I had to do it.
Sometimes I know when it's done, and I'll put that last one down. And sometimes I'll look at it and I'll know I can keep going. But there's that, there's a part of you that says like, you should probably stop now.
Because it's probably a slippery slope, right? You could just keep going down. Yeah.
And especially the size of it. I can put one mark on somebody's face and it will make them look completely wrong.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I can put one tiny mark in and it'll look completely right. So it can really come down to like a 0.5 millimeters worth of paint in one area. And, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, no, and then it makes the thing pop or fit exactly the way you want it to. So, no, it really is amazing. And just, again, one of the things that I'm fascinated by is attention to detail. So obviously that's huge in your world. Yep.
I try to make that like one of the biggest things that I try and pay attention to is the details, and make sure like I'll start over if I learn that I did something a little bit wrong. I made somebody's sock color the wrong shade. Like I obsess over the details pretty ridiculously. But I will definitely dive in and look at photo after photo. If I need to find a sock color or like a shoe color, I will look at photos for like half hour, 45 minutes until I find that one shot where I'm like, there it is. He's got blue socks on. I can finish.
I love that though. But again, that's like, again, what people don't, and why I love these podcasts, because I'm looking at all this art up here. And again, you don't even know what goes into these pieces like that, those little background stories. And that to me, again, is what makes these pieces so valuable, and the art so meaningful too. So
But yeah, like, but you did say before the thing about the watercolor, and just to touch on that, it's watercolor is it's a tricky medium to use because it dries instantly. You don't have a lot of chance to move things around, and it's kind of messy in a weird way.
yeah, because it kind of bleeds, right?
It bleeds. It picks up anything that is underneath it. So I learned very early on in the process that as much as I like to use a graphite pencil, if I touch graphite pencil to the paper I'm using, and even if I erase that at the end after I've put my black line over it, there's still graphite deep in that paper.
Wow.
And if I want like a really light flesh tone and I put it over that spot, it's going to pull that gray from the pencil out of that paper. Wow. So I had to figure out, like, how can I do this where I'm not leaving gray pencil on this card? And I came up with this really labor-intensive process where I draw things, I redraw them, and I end up actually printing what I've drawn on a piece of transfer paper. And the transfer paper puts, I draw on that with almost like a needle.
Oh my God.
And I get that it's a red transfer paper, so it doesn't have a gray or a black that's going to ruin my watercolor.
Right.
And it'll just leave kind of a little red line. But to get to that point, I have to draw things. I've got to redraw them. And then I've got to almost draw. I think at the end, I draw things almost like 5 times.
Oh my God.
It's a lot of labor intense steps, but at the end, if I stick to my process and I do it the same way every time, I get to the point where I can be sure that I'm going to come up with something I should at least be happy with.
Nice. No, I love that. I appreciate you sharing that with me, because again, right, people see the end product and it's absolutely beautiful, but they don't understand the intricacies that go into that whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that if people saw, and you're right. I mean, a lot of the times now people can just push a button and something pops right up on their screen that looks, similar to what they might have wanted. But yeah, I like to, and that's why I put the process videos on Instagram, so I can have people really see what goes into it. Yeah. And that's really only a small part because I don't put a lot of the pre-painting because it's not always fun to watch. Yeah. Watching me with a needle trying to, follow all these lines.
You got to do a one of those, what do they call them, the time lapse videos or whatever, so that way people can see it over like 4 hours and be like, oh my God, yeah.
But it's a process, and I've gotten it down to, if I just follow the steps, I'll get to where I want to go.
Good. Well, all right, before I let you go, let's do a little mock-up where we talk through. All right, so when I was watching, or when I was looking at some of your stuff, and I was like, all right, if I was going to add a piece to my collection, my little dog's about to jump up here on. Sometimes she joins me on the show.
Awesome.
Yeah, so she's coming in. This is Lila.
And I do actually have a whole bunch of cards here that were from my first series. So if you would like to take a peek at any of these,
oh my God, yeah, show those really quick. Yeah, that would be really cool.
I'll show you. You want to see? I'll do my Bryce Harper first, because this is one of the. Like I said, I stopped doing these after I did a ton in 2014. Okay. And
so this is like early work. This is like before you started really getting into the hobby, like the last couple of years.
Yeah, it was 2023. My wife and I were watching a Phillies game, and it was late at night. It's Phillies Braves, and rain came in, and the rain delay lasted so long that this show came on called The Card Life.
Okay. Oh, yeah. With Matt. Yeah, right. Matt Strahm.
Matt Strahm. Yep. And I watched the show, and I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. Like, I hadn't done baseball cards since, it's been like 10 years, and I see the show come on, and I was just fascinated by it. And that's what kind of started the ball rolling for me. As I finished watching that show, I was like, I got to do another card.
Nice. I love it.
And that's kind of what led to the Bryce Harper. But it was, I think, what was it? June when I saw the show. July is when I was like, I got to make another card. It was the 40th anniversary of George Brett and the Pine Tar incident.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do a 1975 George Brett rookie card. And so I decided I'm going to sit down and do the George Brett rookie card. And I finished it up and I put it on Instagram. And somebody named Alan, who collects one George Brett rookie card for every hit George Brett has gotten.
No way.
Reached out to me and was like, I collect George Brett rookie cards. I want that for my collection. And right there was when I had that like moment of like, this could work. Like, yep. People might want to add something to their collection that they cannot find just, at the card shop.
Yep.
And Bryce was on my mind, and I decided, Bryce had just been, he's just a Philly, and I had drawn him before as a national, and I was like, this is a great opportunity to draw Bryce as a Philly.
Yes.
So I went way too overboard on this one.
No, you did not. I saw the box is amazing.
Oh man, it's probably the light in here is probably.
Just move it to the left, maybe, or right there. Oh my God, yeah, no, I could see it.
So that's Bryce.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Let me close this a bit. That'll help. So yeah, I finished that up and made Bryce a Philly, and I finished this the day he hit his 300th home run.
No way.
I decided to commemorate the card with his 300th home run. And then I decided to go way overboard, and I made this box for the card. Has a Phillies logo. I've got Bryce right here.
Oh my God.
He used to play right field. He used to come out and he'd tip his cap to the fans. I thought that was such an awesome move. So I put that there. He's a big fan of the Philly Fanatic.
Yeah.
So I put the Philly Fanatic on there.
Bro, we got to get this in his hands. We got to get this in his hands.
So yeah, this was one of the first ones that I really did from start to finish. And as great as this box looks, this took forever. and this is what my wife saw. And she's like, no, we need to make something
that's replicated, scalable, but still has that touch and that feel of that hand. Oh my God.
So that was the Bryce that really kind of set the wheels in motion. And from there, I just started doing all sorts of cards.
I love that Bryce Harper one, dude. I'm being dead serious. The box and the presentation, that's my nerd shit. That's literally my nerd shit right there. Yeah.
But yeah, to get all those, this was fun, but took a long time. So
yeah, I'd imagine.
It's not sustainable to do one of those every time somebody needs a card commission. So this is the new. This is the new box. So this is one of the cards that I'm actually going to be sending out, but it's got more of a almost like an Apple feel to it. It complements the card. It doesn't overshadow it, but everything about it is recyclable. There's the one thing that is in the hobby that could probably use some attention is just the amazing amount of trash that it produces. And it's a lot of plastic. It's a lot of metal. It's a lot of just stuff that ends up in the garbage. So she's super eco-friendly, super eco-conscious. And we wanted to do something where you could literally just throw this in the trash.
Well, it looks beautiful too. I can imagine the high quality cardboard too that you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, we could spend a whole day just talking about this box because it tells a lot of the story of me and my wife and just our baseball story.
Wow.
I could, take each piece of this and be like, this is a scorecard because in 2006 I learned that she knew how to keep score, and this is a part of our story in here.
Dude.
So.
Your art is really too about your guys' relationship and story too. That is really cool to me just to hear just how passionate you are about that and how that plays a role in your story.
Yeah, I had no idea. We went to a Phillies game because we had nothing to do in 2006, and we got through the gates and she bought a scorebook, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And she's like,
people don't do this anymore. You're like, no way. And she knew how to do that.
She knows how to keep score. She's kept score for every single Phillies game we have ever been to.
Oh my God.
It's got 2 full scorebooks. It's amazing.
That is really cool.
Show Jamie Moyer's signature.
See, so I did see that you met Jamie Moyer too.
Yeah, his signature is in here somewhere.
See, these are the things that as a collector, as a collector and a collectibles person, like as your art appreciates, right? And over time, and unfortunately, like it's probably going to appreciate the most when, oh
Yeah,
my God, that's so awesome. Let's go.
exactly.
Jamie, legend.
But yeah,
But that kind of stuff is going to be really cool to your guys' story too, just like how the scorecard plays into the package that people get too, right?
yeah, everything about everything about what we're giving people, it is a huge part of us, and I think that I hope that's a part that people really enjoy.
Well, again, that's my job here as a podcaster is to storytell about that because again, when somebody gets the end product, now they know what goes into it and maybe somebody buys it again because they're like, you know what? I relate to that story. Me and my wife started my business and whatever. We go to games together, whatever it is, right?
Absolutely.
Man.
Story is huge. I mean, I don't like to just make a card for no reason at all. Like I
Yeah.
want there to be some weird connection that you might not even notice until you get it and you're like, oh, that's why he put that there. Or like, oh, that's why this is like this.
All right, you
It's
ready for this? You ready for this one that we're gonna nerd out on? We got
yeah.
your wife. You guys live in Jersey. Wife was born in the same hospital as me. I grew up a Yankee fan. Derek Jeter was my idol growing up. Like,
Work him out.
all that stuff. For the Red Sox at Fenway against the Yankees on a Friday night, right? So like crazy, crazy story.
Awesome.
I think what would be awesome for you and I to do a project together, I would commission you to do a rookie card almost of me. You know how Tops Now does the Tops Now? What if you
Mhm.
did one of my favorite screenshots is like Jeter argued the call like it was a ball. And I'm like, bro, it is as a strike as a strike could be, what I'm saying? But as a
Oh,
veteran, he literally probably like leaned back to the umpire and was like, you can't call that on me. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah.
type thing. And
I love it
so
already.
I think it would be so cool. I have a screenshot of like him leaning in and like the strike, the call, and like how sick would that be if we did a Tops Now version and I let you put your spin on it, knowing our background, our story, our thing together?
I love that idea. I can already I can already think of some other things that we can even add to that because I've
I got
started
chills.
adding cartoons to the back, kind of like that were
Love it.
inspired by like the 1956, the 1981 tops, like those little cartoons. And I've been trying to like pull bits of that into the backs of cards so I can tell like funny little anecdotes, little
Yeah.
stories about what might be on the front of the card. I just did a natural card where I did a tiny little cartoon on the back that said Roy Hobbs strikes out the whammer in 3 straight pitches,
Oh my God. Let's go.
and that was the back of my natural card. But yeah, I can already think of like some ways to twist that story, and we get it on the front, we get it on the back.
We
Yeah,
have to.
there's lots of fun stuff we can do with that already.
Yeah. No, all right. We're definitely gonna do this story. We're gonna do a part two and tell the story of like how we made the card and then the final product. Dude, that jacks
Love
me up. Like that is so cool.
I think that would be super fun. And like, I mean, where could you ever do that? Like, where can you ever just ask for that card? And I love
And
being that person.
and also too, I think what's cool, right, is that you are a sports person. You understand baseball. You have the background, right? So like again, me just giving you that context. Now I'm like, go. Like I know you're gonna create something awesome, knowing what you know about the history, all that, your tradition, nostalgia. And again, like that's the beauty of this.
I love that about a lot of the collectors that have come to me is that they trust that they can just like you said, be like, I want this, and then just like go for it, go
Go
do
be
it,
creative. Yeah,
go
that's
do your
amazing.
thing.
Yep. And I already, so in my shop one day, if you ever come down here, you'll see it's almost like museum feel. And what I'll do is I'll put it in a certain area and I'll have like a link to like a QR code to your website and all your art. And so people can see more about it and everything. But it's a really cool way for me to thank you for your time too, to do this, but
I
to
love
put
it.
your story out there too, to get more people involved in your community and all that too. So
That's
yeah.
awesome. I love that baseball cards, when it comes to art and baseball cards, I love that it's something that you can literally hand to somebody and
It's
they can hold that and they can, you can pick it up and like,
And if you want
because
to bring it with you somewhere, that's like on this. I have
yeah,
some beautiful art in here, but it's like, hey, come
you can't
over to
take it
this.
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. You can take some cool pictures of it, but
Yeah,
no, absolutely. That's the beauty. And that's where I think, again, with the transformation of the collectibles world, I think sports cards are becoming the modern day art, honestly. So that's why, again, I love this connection that you do where you blend them both together. So
Yeah, it's been super fun. I'm just super lucky that I've been able to kind of find this little niche, and just super lucky that I've got the support that I've got, especially here at home, because that's just huge.
No, it really is. And again, like me playing baseball, you know, for my career and then starting a business and everything, you need that support. It's you're doing something that most people don't do or understand. So that mental side of it is really important. Yeah.
And there's a lot of artists that are good at art, and that's what they're good at. And if it wasn't for her, I'd honestly be sitting next to a huge pile of work that just got bigger and bigger, and I wouldn't know what to do with it, because I'd just be like, I'm on to the next thing.
Yep. Well, I work with a lot of artists, and that's, again, right, that's the pain point for a lot of them, is figuring out how to monetize it. So again, it sounds like you guys have a great thing going. I'm not trying to rush. I just am super cheap, and I haven't paid for the upgrade on the Zoom. So I'm excited for part 2, but before we get cut off here, where do people find you on social and your website, so that way they can reach out the best?
I'm on Instagram at mikeolsonart.com, and I'm also, you can go to my website, same thing, mikeolsonart.com, and you can contact me both ways, either through a direct message, or my website has a little contact form. You can reach out that way, and that's usually how people get started. They just say, "Hey, could you do a?"
Boom.
We go from there.
I love it.
That's usually how it starts.
Yeah. Well, Mike, dude, this was awesome. Thank you again. I'm so excited to really lock into your career and help you, grow that too, and be on that journey with you. So, and like I said, I'm definitely going to commission you on that piece. So let's get that rolling. I'm going to DM you right now with my number so we can text about it and get the ball rolling.
Let's talk offline, and we'll figure out how to do this. But I love the idea already.
Me too.
It's going to be fun, because those cards, that have a moment, that's the cool. Those are really cool. Not just like, here's my profile picture.
Exactly. No, I'm excited, man. Thank you again. Awesome. This was awesome.
Thank you so much.
Yep.